now. In a major development on global trade, US President Donald Trump has announced that a new deal with China is complete, with big implications for tech, education and tariff policy. Trump says Beijing will supply the US with rare earth minerals and magnets crucial for defense and electronics, while the US will allow Chinese students to continue studying at American universities. Under the agreement, the US will put a total of 55% tariffs on some Chinese imports, including 25% in legacy tariffs and an additional 20% targeting fentanyl trafficking. China will respond with a flat 10% tariff on US goods. The White House says the deal builds on last month's Geneva framework and is still pending final approval from both himself and Chinese President Xi Jinping. Let's have a listen to what the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has said on the deal.
His trade team, who did a fantastic job negotiating this on behalf of the United States and meeting with their Chinese counterparts. The president is talking to them about the details of it now. But what the president heard, he liked. China has agreed to open their markets to the United States separately of this deal. And when it comes to this deal, we're going back to the terms that were agreed upon in Geneva for the release of some of those critical minerals and the magnets from China to the United States. And we have agreed to fully comply with the Geneva Agreement as well. So the president is reviewing the details of that with his trade team now, and you'll hear more from him, I'm sure.
Meanwhile, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told lawmakers that China now has a singular opportunity to stabilise its economy by shifting to domestic consumption and remaining a reliable trade partner. Bessent also signalled that some nations could see extended tariff relief if they continue to negotiate in good faith. Let's hear what he said.
Dozens of countries have engaged the administration thus far with offers to improve their trade relations with the United States. This includes China. I have just returned in the middle of last night from successful negotiations in London with a Chinese delegation that will not only stabilize the economic relationship between our two economies, but make it more balanced. China has a singular opportunity to stabilize its economy by shifting away from excess production towards greater consumption. But the country needs to be a reliable partner in trade negotiations. If China will course correct by upholding its end of the initial trade agreement we outlined in Geneva, and I believe after our talks in London they will, then the rebalancing of the world's two largest economies is possible.
Well, as global markets watch closely, the deal marks a tentative step towards easing years of US-China trade tensions, but challenges still potentially lie ahead. Well, joining us to look at the ramifications of this deal and the potential international ramifications as well is Dr. Satoru Nagao, a fellow at the Hudson Institute, who's joining us from Tokyo, Japan. Dr. Nagao, thank you ever so much for joining. Let's first look at the international ramifications of this. Of course, a US-China trade war which has seen markets go in all directions, tariffs reaching triple digits. How do you think the world markets will react to what seems like an easing of those tensions?
This is, of course, an important step to adjust the situation. Without rare earths, the United States cannot produce high-tech machines. So that's why, in this case, the U.S. economy relies on China. But at the same time, we should not forget one fact. Since the end of the Obama administration, Trump administration, Biden administration, Trump administration continue to choose the tough policy towards China. So they are preparing the real competition between US and China. And in this case, as a long-term course, US is planning to decouple with China. But to do this, they cannot do decouple immediately. That's just because of this. Step by step, they need to choose a tougher position. That's why we can find one kind of ceasefire like this has happened. But ceasefire is not meaning the end of the battle between two countries. That is important point also, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Dr. Nagao, we are shorter on time, but my final question to you relates to the wider tariff picture now. We've seen the US Liberation Day tariffs, which Trump announced, shocking the world and shocking the markets. It seems that has led to conversations. Trump's saying that the July 8th deadline for that 3-month 10% extension which he put in before those Liberation Day tariffs take effect. Trump says that might be extended, with conversations ongoing with around 15 countries, including Japan as well. Do you think Trump has been successful with his bold tariff moves, given the fact that countries like China, Japan, the European Union, the United Kingdom all seem to be closer to a deal that might be more suitable for his America First policy?
They cannot fail. Trump administration cannot fail because they have already declared the tough measures towards this. So they must find something, the solution. But when we hear the intimidation from the Trump administration, we should not forget this is intimidation to deal. So that's why, of course, the level of the intimidation is very tough, but the reality is they can postpone the tariff if the negotiation going well. So that's why we should focusing on negotiation in this case, I think.
Absolutely. Dr. Satoru Nagao, thank you ever so much for joining us. We will, of course, bring you all of the updates on this pending US-China deal and further US trade deals as they happen. But we move on now, and tensions